What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. I am glad you're here. So today we're going to be talking about recoil control. So this topic is a very annoying one. There are a lot of people who look at my videos and they say things like, "Oh, you're limp wristing," and "Oh, whatever." And I'm going to get right to what I think the problem is. I think there's a very big lack of understanding of how to shoot a gun accurately. Too often, people are focused on the pageantry and the cameras for shooting. They're not focused on results. What they care about is, do they look really cool? And they think somehow they're more of a man if the gun sits flat when they shoot. Nothing in that equation has to do with hits. It's all about how you look. And it's a vanity. It's gross. And so I want to talk through really briefly my view on recoil control. So the majority of the time when I'm shooting one-handed, and I am using a shooting method that is sort of old school. It's an old world way to shoot. And the whole idea is it doesn't really matter what happens after the shot breaks. What matters is what leads up to the shot break. And so when I'm holding a pistol, I've explained this in the past, but essentially I'm making sure that the pistol is in line with my arm in general. I've got a comfortable anatomic position. I don't feel like I'm compensating at the wrist for having to, aim left or right. So I have a very comfortable pointed pistol. I'm then bladed at about 45 degrees, just whatever's comfortable to where I feel like I'm in a neutral place of strength where I can point the pistol. And then I'm gripping the pistol about as hard as I would shake someone's hand, probably less. I'm not death gripping the pistol. And here's why. Here's our first hurdle that we have to get over. The harder you grip the pistol, the more you are going to fatigue and shake. Guess what that translates to? Inaccuracy. And this is one or two hands. Very often people will add the second hand on there because they think it makes them more accurate and stable. Two hands has nothing to do with accuracy. Two hands only has something to do with the next shot, follow-up shots. So if you're worried about speed, the second hand is useful. If you're worried about accuracy, it literally means zero. So I'm gripping the pistol moderately. I'm extending out. I'm looking down my sights. And one thing that I find is I am more accurate with a longer, heavier pistol. Very often, people think that a shorter pistol is going to be easier and all. No, it's not true at all. When you have a little bit of weight out here on the nose, that extra weight and what some would call imbalance or nose-heavy guns, that actually provides stability on the front sight to where basically there's more mass out there, and the little micro movements that are occurring in your hand and in your body are not so easily influencing that front sight because you would then have to move that mass on the nose of the gun. So I find that bigger, heavier, longer guns, they point with more stability, and that translates to more accuracy. So that's a small side note. So anyway, when we're pointing the pistol, I'm pulling the trigger, and I am pulling in a nice natural anatomical position. You can see that I don't have my trigger finger sunk in there so far to where I'm doing this. You see when I pull the trigger, it's influencing the muzzle. I also don't have it pulled all the way out. People get too focused on the tip of their finger, and then they end up doing this. You can see there, I'm influencing the muzzle. I just find a comfortable position where I feel like I am braking to the rear clean, to where there's no muzzle influence at the break of that trigger. Now, once the shot breaks, what do? Absolutely nothing. I let the pistol recoil. I'm not trying to fight it. I let my arm pop up in the air a little bit, and here's why. Anybody who's ever shot archery is going to understand this really quickly. What's really important is how you loose that arrow, making sure that you are pointed exactly where you're supposed to be. You are still, and you want to be like a statue when that arrow leaves the bow, because every movement you make trying to anticipate or resist or anything like that is going to influence that arrow downrange. The same thing is true with handgun or even rifle shooting. It's not about how hard you stand and how tough you grip the gun and be more of a man and daddy wasn't there. All these issues that people bring in, it's not about that. What it's about is being still, calm, and pointed where you should be when that bullet leaves the barrel. Now let's deal with the myth, and boy, this one, people should actually be embarrassed about this one. People say you need to grip that gun because you're going to lose accuracy, or that you're allowing the gun to recoil too much. And what they don't realize, there is high-speed footage, which I'm going to pepper some in here. Before the gun ever begins its recoil cycle, that bullet has left the barrel a long time ago. Okay? So you gripping the pistol hard has zilch, nothing to do with accuracy. What has to do with accuracy is the barrel being pointed at the target when the shot goes off. That's it. That is it. That's all of it. And what's funny is when I go back to these early manuals of the 1911, it even says this in the manuals from 1912, guys. In 1912, they literally say that the bullet is gone from the barrel before the weapon even moves. They understood this 115 years ago, yet somehow today this is a mystery to us. So why do I care about holding the pistol flat when the bullet's long gone, right? The only reason I would care is the next shot. And now look, there's value in that. And I'm going to show you here in some video that absolutely, I know how to shoot these guns flat, really flat. So if I need to, I know how to drive that gun, run them flat. I'm worried about the next shot. But for the most part, and this is where, see, what people do is they shoot it like 2 or 3 yards. I'm not even joking. And they shoot really fast and really flat, and they think that makes them a good shot. Back that same person up to 25 yards, have them do an injured hand drill, so they have to shoot one-handed at 25 yards, watch the wheels fall off. What's difficult and what makes a good shooter, and particularly you see this in like the bullseye shooting world. A lot of people discount this bullseye shooting world. Guys, I would recommend you go watch Jared AF's video on this recently. Everything he says in that video is absolutely true. That some of the best shooters on the planet are bullseye shooters. We are talking about supremely accurate guys shooting at 50 yards one-handed with handguns. These techniques and these practices absolutely translate to real world. And here's the thing, when you get really good at shooting one-handed, shooting two-handed is cake. It's like, it takes all of the mystique away from that completely for me. So I'll quote Colonel Jeff Cooper. He said, "Any man who masters the pistol will own everything he sees with a rifle." I think it's the same with shooting one-handed versus two. Anyone who masters the one-handed shooting will own everything he sees with two. So when that shot breaks, it does not matter about controlling recoil. I don't care about that. I don't, this like faux masculinity, insecure daddy issue like concept that floats up where people think that they're a big boy when they keep that gun shooting flat. Man, again, you need to go talk to somebody because you got some issues. That has nothing to do with good shooting. Now, if you want to focus on fast shooting, sure, it comes into play there. But I am a firm believer that we should be shooting good and not fast first. So when it comes to recoil control, I pretty much have 2 settings. The first one and the main one is accuracy. What I care about is making every bullet make contact. I personally do that best with one hand. I can shoot at 40 yards one-handed with a full fat ball 1911, and I don't care what the recoil is doing. And the proof is in the pudding. What I am focused on is a clean, easy break and release with that front sight being nice and still. Clean break. Send that bullet off. I'm not influencing the barrel at all. Let the recoil happen. Don't fight it. Then, when you're up close, if you need to drive the gun, you need volume of fire, you need it fast, sure, I can do that. No problem. But that's not impressive. That's not really super valuable to me. I think it's the easiest thing to do with a handgun is to shoot fast up close. And I plan on doing a video on that on the range because, look, there's some things to learn with it. It's, there's a few techniques, but I would say the overwhelming majority of shooters would struggle to shoot it even just 25 yards and get good hits with one hand. I think the overwhelming majority of people would. It would be very foreign to them. Or here's another one, left-handed. Shoot one hand left-handed, especially if you're right eye dominant. This is another thing people do not train. I took a class recently, a pistol class, and in that class we did the Pat McNamara X drill, and part of that drill is, the left two cones, you are shooting left-handed with one hand. And, a lot of people struggle with that. For me, it was no problem because I train one-handed predominantly. Two of the instructors told me after the class that they were really impressed that I was able to shoot that drill the way I did with one hand, and that most people struggle with that. And I said, well, thank you. First of all, that's a wonderful thing to say, but that's how I train. I think one-handed shooting is something that too many people leave behind, and they don't see the value in it. But there, you have the ability to really execute supremely accurate shots with one hand if you would just learn some of these techniques. So at the end of the day, recoil control doesn't matter when you're going for accuracy. Let the gun flop where it wants to flop. What does that matter? Right? Now, I'm doing a little bit, like I'm holding the pistol firm enough to where it's going to snap back to center, but my elbow is unlocked. I let it fly up. I let it pop up a little bit. Why? Because I don't want to add tension to the pistol, which is then going to add movement. My goal is to hold that pistol still and break that shot off clean with the barrel pointing where I want it to be pointed. And I want that bullet to exit the barrel. And then everything else after that, the recoil, doesn't have anything to do with where that bullet goes. That recoil is something I have to deal with. I don't want the bullet to be influenced by me trying to compensate for something that hasn't happened yet. So my 2 cents on this topic is don't get caught up in thinking that you're more or less of a man because of how you control the pistol. Hits are what count. Who gives a crap about what you look like on camera? All that is vanity. It's useless. It's pointless. And those people who are so self-absorbed and are not thinking about employing good martial practices and accuracy, those are the ones I would worry about. But the guys out there who are getting hits and quality hits, man, I don't care if they're out there in a loincloth standing on their head. If they're hitting steel or if they're hitting paper and they're getting good groups, that's what matters. So there you go, guys. That's my view on recoil control. I am going to do a video. This will have to be a range video where I am going to talk about how to control the pistol, because this is not at all bragging because I've had wonderful teachers, but I do know how to run the gun really flat. And this is running full fat 230 grain ball. What you see in the videos here is not, like some competition race gun. This is an all steel GI 45. Totally possible to run these guns really flat, and there is a place for that. When you're within a few feet, these 2-3 yard drills, absolutely, that's a great place to employ the two-handed stuff. We want to be able to very quickly deliver lead, get back out on target as fast as possible, because at that range, I don't have as much of a premium on accuracy. That the threat's too close, and we need to deal with that, right? So there's absolutely a place for two-handed shooting and running the gun flat. But otherwise, if you're practicing at range for accuracy, recoil control just doesn't matter all that much. It takes a big back seat. So hope that helped you guys out. Look forward to your comments. We'll see you on the next one.